Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central tonight with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. And tonight we're reading more stories from the book of Abraham Anibal and the Raiders of the Sands. Abraham Anibal and the Raiders of the Sands. So we're going to delve off a little bit further into this. We're getting real close now. We're coming up on His Imperial Majesty, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, ruler of the 3,000-year Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia's birthday. His 129th birthday is coming up in a few days. And before we get there, we're gonna finish off this book, and we're gonna finish off the book we've been reading in the noontime. The Queen of Sheba and her only son Menelik, otherwise known as the Keber Nagast or the Glory of the Kings. But meanwhile, we got a few things to do right here, right now. So let's get on with the getting on. Number one, if you're watching this on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And then go ahead and tell your friends, your family, your enemies, and everybody that you know where they need to be and what they need to do at this time of night, every single night, Monday through Friday. 7 days a week. We are right here telling our stories 7 days a week, not just 5, but every last day. Meanwhile, let's see what we got tonight for a proverb. Okay, and here's another. I like these short and sweet ones. This one goes, everything has an end. That's it. Everything has an end. Pure and simple. KISS doesn't get any easier than that. Keeping it simply, superly simple. Okay, keeping it super simple. And that is a proverb from the nation of Tanganyika. Yes, now known as Tanzania, but formerly known as Tanganyika and Zanzibar, combined Tanzania. All right, so let's go ahead and read some more about Abraham Hannibal and the Raiders of the Sands. Let's see what's going on with them tonight. What's going on tonight? Da, 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 da. Dang, I don't even know how that song came back in my head. That's some kind of Looney Tunes stuff too. But hey, what can I say? There it is. Okay. All right, just to make sure that we're in there properly. Let's go. Here we go. So we left off last night on chapter 22. Title of the chapter is Shipwreck. So here we go. Abraham and they couldn't understand each other's own languages, but the others had all learned a fair bit of Arabic on the year's journey from their homeland, so they managed to speak in that language. The slave children scratched board games on the deck with charcoal and played with any bits and pieces they could find, or played Spot the Dolphin and Count the Flying Fish, and Abraham would forget that he had a master now, that he had lost everything that was precious to him. But at night, settling onto his mat in the crammed and stinking hold, he would whisper like a magic charm the words that sometime he would say to the king of the Franks. Then, very early on the 19th day, as they passed the first of the Greek islands, the sky that had been a peaceful blue since they left Africa turned gray and wild. The sea began to pitch and heave, and the wind blew in violent gusts. The sailors hastily lowered the sails, but the steersman could do nothing with the ship as she was driven on helplessly before the wind, rolling and plunging into the deep trough of one wave, tossed high on the crest of the next. Screaming prayers and promises to be better people, the free passengers scrambled below decks to join the slaves down in the hold. But Abraham had other ideas and began to struggle his way across the deck to the ship's side. His white cotton robe, heavy with water, wrapped itself tight around his legs, and the driving spears of rain stung his cheeks and his eyes. He could hardly stand upright against the force of the wind that tried to push him back, 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 ye bastion, back. With every slithering step he took and whipped his face raw, the deck awash with rain and sea pitched and tilted under Abraham's bare feet. One moment the ship's bows plunged down into the frothing gray sea, and as she was flung back again, water poured over her deck from the front. The next moment her bows were pointed skywards and her stern was in the water, and then she was hurled bows down again, water pouring over her deck from the back. The din was horrific. The wind was roaring, the rain hammering every rope and plank and joint, groaning, sailors yelling orders and curses, passengers and slaves screaming, and over again, great rumbling rolls of thunder from the storm clouds above. At last, Abraham reached the ship's side and clung on tight to the clammy wood. All around was nothing but an emptiness of gray clouds, gray sea, merging one into the other, and the white of the huge waves breaking over the little ship. And yet Abraham was suddenly seized with a wild excitement. This storm is the most powerful thing I've ever known. Like the time I rode Father Stallion, but far faster, far stronger. There's no master I met now. No masters and no slaves. What can he do against this storm? Maybe we'll be driven onto land somewhere and I'll escape. The Greek people are Christians, like Yanni. Maybe they'll help me, and I'll get to the land of the Franks after all. Oh, Laia, help me to be as brave as you were. Then the wild movement stopped with a fearful crash and shudder. One of the masts snapped with a huge crackling sound and toppled over with a great splintering of wood and ripping of ropes and canvas. For a moment there was a terrible silence. A terrible stillness. And they knew that they had struck a rock. That's right. They had struck a rock. The passengers and slaves struggled up onto the deck, and there was a wild rush and panic as the free passengers and the crew struggled in the stinging rain and roaring wind to get a place on the two little lifeboats. Then all at once, some of the sailors started shouting, "Land ahoy! Land ahoy!" The slaves knew they had no chance of being allowed a place in the crowded little boats, and they clung to the ship in despair. But Abraham called out, "Come on, land so near, the waves will carry you there. Grab something that floats and jump." And he picked up a wooden hen coop that had survived the storm, emptied out the chickens, and jumped with it into the boiling gray sea. He felt the water close over his head as he sank down and down and down into the darkness. Then he found himself forced upwards again until his head was up out of the water and he was sneezing and breathing in air once more. Gripping his hen coop, he struck out with his spare arm and his feet towards land, bobbing in the water around him, for he could see a few dark heads of slaves who had followed his example. But then the waves picked him up and hurled him away, plunged him deep down and tossed him up again, until after a lifetime of battering and pitching and rolling and rambling, he at last felt himself scrape against the gravelly bottom and staggered up out of the water and collapsed onto solid, though not very dry land. Woo-wee! A lot of activity going on there. I'm just checking to see how much further we got to go. Trying to see, we got one chapter or two. Let's see. Oh, I see. It looks like three. Yeah, we got about three more left. Okay. The rain, this is chapter 23, and it's called Island. The rain had stopped, and the afternoon sun was feebly trying to shine from between the clouds. They were inside a small natural arbor, and the sea was calmer here. From where Abraham was sitting on the hillside, high up above the beach, he could see Ahmet, the merchant, striding up and down the water's edge like a madman, his wet robes flapping heavily against his thin body. I am ruined, ruined, it's all but lost. It's all lost, came the thin sound of his voice over and over again. It was true. They could see the ship outside the little harbor slanting wildly against the rock that had gashed her. The waves were out in the open sea, still battering her. She would not last long. Only one of the two lifeguards had returned to the shore, and the beach was dotted with sailors and passengers weeping, comforting each other, desperately looking out to sea and along the shore for those who had disappeared. But Abraham sat on the hillside above the beach, away from the free survivors. One person only was with him, the only other slave still alive. And together they looked silently out at the sea. There were over 30 slaves crammed on that boat, and now there's only the two of us left. Only two of us who had the luck to make it through that little gap in the rocks. I just keep having to say goodbye, said Abraham. It's always goodbye. The other slave, Nagonga, was a very tall, thin, dark brown girl with the short hair and the straight, narrow skulls of her people in rows across her forehead, a bit taller than Abraham, and they had become quite friendly on the voyage. It wasn't that she looked or sounded like Leah, but there was something about her that was calming and comforting, just the way his sister had been. Okay, and you know what? We're gonna break it off right there. Come back tomorrow and see if we can what kind of progress we can make tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Wednesday. That'll give us Wednesday, Thursday, before Friday. All right, so we're gonna give it up right there, and we will come back to that tomorrow. In the meantime, all you little children out there know what time it is. Do I need to give you one of my favorite kinds of quiz? You know that it's time to put your hands together, put your little hands under your little, put your little head on your little pillow, on your little bed, and close those your eyes while you wait on the sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, please try not to despise the new day that is about to arise. Matter of fact, when you get up, enjoy the new day. Take it in hand, grab it and hold on to it for all it's worth. Like you're out there on that ocean with Abraham or Laia or one of those other unfortunates on that ship. Meanwhile, all you adults out there, you know what you need to do. Give us a like if you're watching on Facebook, a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube, and then go ahead and subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel right here below. Look below, you'll see a big red button. Hit that button right now. Don't wait till later, because later won't be greater. In the meanwhile, we're going to our extra. Peace out without a doubt, with plenty justice. Because peace without justice disgusts us.